Okay, yeah, it wasn't... Alright, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was gonna pop up with new people who logged on there or not, Scott. But it did, so it wasn't entirely necessary, but I thank you anyway. Alright, so what we're gonna do today is, instead of progressing with the main story, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back out to the Forbidden Woods, and we're gonna go... There was an area in the Forbidden Woods that I had mentioned that we could get to, but that I would avoid to begin with, just because I wanted to get through some of the story stuff first. But we're gonna go and take that little path anyway now, because there are some things in the area that I want to get to that are pretty much necessary for this build that I have. And that's stuff that's going to be scaling off of my main offensive stats. And there's also going to be something, a thing or two, relative to the main quest line in the next area. I got, what we're gonna be, the place we're gonna be getting to is Yosefka's clinic, but it's gonna be a little bit of a back entrance. And since the last time I had you tuning in, I had gone into some of the Chalice dungeons and gotten some blood gems. Unfortunately, I don't have the materials necessary for some of the better ones to get into the Chalice dungeons where you get some of the better blood gems, but that's better in one regard, because without some of the items that we're looking at to get here right now, it's not really the best idea anyway. Oh yeah, okay. Alright, so this is one of those things in Bloodborne games that it's common in Bloodborne and Doom type games. You'll have the main path that you go when you branch off from what you think is the main path, and then there's things that you wouldn't really notice unless you were looking, or things that I mean, like, because like they blend so well with the environment, and you think, if you look, there is a path right there, but if you would look at it from this way and just as a casual glance, you wouldn't think that would be the place you could get to. But a dead giveaway is the lanterns over there. That indicates something that you can get into, that you can walk in through. Alright, now the vegetation around here, I'm unsure if you remember, but these types of flowers were also growing in the Nightmare. And that is a sheer drop off there. Oh, actually, before we go any further, I'm gonna go back out into the main menu. Because I thought, I had initially thought I was going to go into the main quest line, but I forgot that that I wanted to get to this other area first, so I started in offline mode, because the next area for the main story is one of two places in the game that you can get invaded when you haven't already rung your bell and summoned someone. So, just simply being in that area until you kill the bell-ringing woman means that you're open for invasion. And that's not what I'm about. I don't like PvP. I know, I believe there was something relevant to the Chalice dungeons in this area here, and in the Forbidden Woods to begin with. I'm unsure if I remember telling you this, but the way things work in Bloodborne is that there's the waking world, which we're in right now, and then there's varying levels of nightmare and other worldly realms that are either stacked above or below the waking world. Kind of like how the idea of how some people think multiverses work. Like, there'll be different planes of existence in different spatial orientations to one another. But of course, I mean, up, down, left, and right don't have the same kind of meaning that they do to our senses when it comes to different realms of existence. Or in space, that is. Because unless you have something in space to, or rather, when it comes to outer space, it's hard to assign left, right, and up and down when you're in space, because a lot of the times you don't have a point of reference, and a lot of the times when you go past a certain point, certain directions will blend into one another. But anyway, like I was saying, there's the waking world, there's the nightmares, or other dream-type realms above and below the waking world, and then there are physical. There are points in the physical world where certain areas of the nightmare or the dreams can actually manifest themselves. I'm unsure how familiar you are with the works of H.P. Lovecraft, Scott, but I actually, even though I haven't read the entire body of work that I'm going to reference here, because it's a total slog, it's a huge brick, the Dreamlands, there are in the works of the Dreamlands, like, the easiest way to access the Dreamlands is obviously through dreams, being asleep. However, there are certain places in the story that you can access them physically, but doing so is highly inadvisable, because in the dream realms, when you're asleep, if you suffer harm or if you die there, you don't. At least I think this is the way it works. If you die there, if you suffer harm, it doesn't transfer over to your physical self. But if you go into the Dreamlands when you're awake and you die there, you die for real. So it's kind of like the Matrix. This area right here is, if I remember correctly, one such area. In terms of places that can that ordinarily only access through what amount to dream type entrances. Like, there are certain areas that you can access in terms of the Chalice dungeons called the Hintertombs. I normally don't go to those ones because it's not really there isn't really a whole lot that's worth it there for me. Oh shit. But one of the main fixtures in the Hintertombs is that there's a lot of areas that have huge areas rather a huge what's the word? There's a lot of sections in the Hintertombs that are what's the word I'm looking for? That have great sections of like what we're walking in here, what we're walking around in here. It's poisoning us slowly. A lot of the areas in the Hintertombs will have like poison pools and stuff like that. So I've heard people say that this is one of the areas that you can that might have been a physical way into the Chalice dungeons, or rather, what the Chalice dungeons were to the Waking Realm, because in the to access the Chalice dungeons for us, we have to perform a ritual, and we don't. It's implied that when you go into these areas, they're not the actual. They're not the actual dungeons themselves, but rather kind of snapshots of what they had been at one time, and also depending on what rite you do when you perform the ritual. It can be different kind of. It's kind of like different timelines. It can be different snapshots in time of the actual Chalice dungeon, and also different timelines. I'm not really good at explaining these things. Also, I don't really. It's not really my thing to kind of learn these things whole hog. I kind of have a general understanding, but I'm not very good at explaining it. Alright, so now we're gonna go up through here. This is the area I was telling you about. We have a bunch of skeletons here. And let me see here. Yep, and up this ladder is going to be where the clinic is. I've heard some people speculate that the fact that there's a whole bunch of dead bodies down here in proximity to the clinic means that it was a place that they would dump the bodies. And there's also the little item that I have, the Madaris whistle. The Madaris twins had a pet snake, a pretty big snake, and they would use it to dispose of beast corpses with. The snake would eat them, and I've heard some people speculate that's why the Forbidden Woods have all those poisonous snakes around there, because they one, the snakes might have been present there already, and were feeding on some of the beast corpses, and that way they got the poison in them. Or the other thing is that might happen is that they the snakes might not be native to the Forbidden Woods, but instead are being brought in through the nightmare, because the Madaris whistle summons a snake up from the ground from the nightmare, but it's a different nightmare from the Nightmare Frontier, but I've heard some people speculate that how they rise up from the ground when the snake-headed guys whistle, that's where they come from. Alright, now we have a brain sucker here, and you'll remember that the first places that we saw these were there was one out near the Grand Cathedral, and there was a whole bunch of them in the upper cathedral ward where the choir was located. Rather, where the choir used to be located, and are not there anymore. And there's actually, let me see if I have one here, but actually I don't think I do. But with the consumables that you gain insight with, Madman's knowledge and Great One's wisdom, there's what look like little slugs coming in from the crack in the skull. There's also, when it comes to the beasts, there's items that There's items that the League members can see called vermin. And those come in from things that are especially corrupted from the beast blood. So it's implied when you have the brain suckers, when they suck your brain out with that slug in their head. I've heard some people speculate that's what insight will do to some people. Like, it will actually bring in these slugs into your head from across dimensional borders. And they drop Quicksilver bullets, but I'm not exactly sure why. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at it up close here. Yeah, kind of a spectral slug. But yeah, insight will affect different people differently, as well as it's implied that beast blood will, rather the old blood will affect different people. Rather, how the old blood will affect one person rather than the other. Alright, here we're in the back of the clinic. And you'll notice that we gained some insight there. We're going to explore back here. Okay, yeah. We didn't get the reward for it, but you'll remember that in the upper cathedral ward before we fought Abritus, there was the boss, the Celestial Emissary. It was basically a bunch of these guys. And their proximity to the choir marks them as relevant to them. And this was the only guy we managed to send over to the clinic, the Suspicious Beggar. And here we have the Beast Rune. And why that's relevant is that if you attack the Suspicious Beggar, he will transform into the Abhorrent Beast. The step before the Loran Dark Beast, the undead one. Something that's interesting in terms of that is that to a certain point, some people, it's implied, will actually be able to turn into beasts at will. Gascoigne was able to do that after you got his health down to a certain point. Now, however, Gascoigne did not seem to possess, rather, from our interactions with him, he did not seem to possess the faculty for speech, but the Suspicious Beggar does. Like, he actually scolds you for attacking him. Something to the effect of, "What's this? You're attacking me? You drink the town. You drink the blood of half the town, and you have the nerve to call me a monster? You hunters are the real killers." Alright, now I mentioned that the proximity to the choir that the Celestial Emissary had was relevant to them because after you'll remember that after a certain point in the game, the original Yosefka was replaced by a different voice, and here we see one of the Celestial Emissaries, but it looks like a normal human hand. What's implied here is that the Celestial Emissaries are created through experimentation. That's part of what the choir's doing. Rather, was doing. And that's another implication that this is part of what the choir was doing. We have the communion rune here. Yep, this rune represents the healing church and its ministers. Blood ministration is, of course, the pursuit of communion. Communion, in this case, in the case of the healing church, with Abritus and the old blood. I think there's actually something... Yeah. Great chalices unlock deeper reaches of the labyrinth. The Great East Chalice became the cornerstone of the choir, the elite delegation of the healing church. It was also the first great chalice brought back to the surface since the time of Bergenworth, and allowed the choir to have audience with Abritus. And here we're gonna find the imposter Yosefka. Now, if you come here before a certain point in the game, before the Blood Moon, she'll actually attack you if you don't leave. But here we're gonna see something that also will not bode well for somebody else.
God, I'm nauseous. Have you found this? It's progressing. I can see things. I knew it. I'm different. I'm no beast. Oh, God, it feels awful. But it proves that I'm chosen. Don't you see how they writhe inside my head? It's rather rapturous.
Alright, we're, seeing as she's quite beyond sanity, and, something that she drops is relevant to the main story, we're gonna kill her. One-third of umbilical cord. So when she was talking about things writhing inside her head, this is part of what is implied in terms of the madmen's knowledge. How you see the phantasm in the crack in the skull. What this also implies is that she was chosen by a great one to bear a child. Provost Willem sought the cord in order to elevate his being and thoughts to those of a great one, by lining his brain with eyes. The only choice he knew if man were to ever match their greatness. We're gonna eat that. And before we leave, we're gonna get something that we're gonna get the thing that I was mentioning that we need for our build here. Rather, to access the area that we need for our build. And then we're gonna go to one more place before we head out there, but then we'll go. And here we have another one of the celestial beings. And this one drops Yosefka's blood vial. She gave us one at the beginning of the game, and now this one dropped one. So it's implied that the imposter Yosefka turned Yosefka herself into this thing, the suspicious beggar into that thing back there, and also tried to turn whoever was lying back on the table into one, but didn't quite complete it. And now we have here the Canehurst summons. A summons inviting you to Canehurst. An old blood-stained summons inviting an honored guest to the forsaken Castle Canehurst. Rather bafflingly, it's addressed to you. Do not hesitate. The stagecoach leaves from Hemlock Crossing. Alright, now that is actually relevant to one of the starting classes, which I believe we chose. It's called Noble Scion. And that one has enhanced blood tinge and arcane. And that'll be relevant to the items that we find there. But we're gonna get out of this door here, and we're gonna go over to Odin Chapel. I'm not sure if you remember, but Annalise, the the hooker that we led to Odin Chapel, was not feeling very well the last time we saw her. And her proximity to Odin Chapel actually colors a bit of what happens to her here. Oh yeah, I almost actually forgot. I'm not sure if you remember, but we had there was the other NPC that we tried to get along with her quest, Eileen the Crow. I actually fucked her quest line up somehow, which I wasn't... oh no, she's still here. I actually fucked her quest line up somehow, which triggered the other ending, which we're gonna go check in on her in a minute. But here we have... yeah, she's not feeling very well at all. We're gonna talk to the old lady for another another little supply of sedatives here. And now we're gonna go up to the cathedral. I was a little upset that I didn't get her Eileen's quest done right, because she gives you a pretty good rune and access to one of the best skill weapons in the game. Skill being one of our main offensive stats. But you'll see in a minute. if we had progressed her quest properly, she would be sitting down here, gravely wounded, by the hand of what would have been in there. But she's actually in there, and she's going to offer some dialogue.
Few hunters can resist the intoxication of the hunt. Lucky. Just the same as all the rest. The hunters must die. The nightmare must end. Only I can stop this madness.
So she's obviously quite mad now. We're actually going to switch to our regular hunter pistol because this is using up too much ammo.
Is mine. A hunter's blood for me. Your punishment is death. Death to hunters. Enough of this terrible dream. You monsters. All hunters must die.
Alright, so unfortunately we weren't able to... if we had progressed her questline properly, she would have been sitting out there gravely wounded, and in here would have been what is called the Bloody Crow of Canehurst, which is... he would have had an item of clothing that is relevant to Castle Canehurst, and he would also use when you fight him. Do I have some here? Yep, he would also use Numbing Mist, which is an item unique to Canehurst, and this prevents you from using healing vials. And it says here, said to be used by the Blood Hunters of Canehurst. Its recipe is secret, closely guarded by the line of nobles inhabiting the castle. And, before this, Eileen was a hunter of hunters, and what those hunters would do is that they would hunt down and kill hunters who had been, what's the word? Who had been taken in by bloodlust and, went down the road to beasthood. Oh, actually, I forgot that she drops the Crow Hunter badge if you kill her, but she doesn't give you the Hunter of Hunters rune. And that's a good Covenant rune because it increases your stamina speed. Badge of a Hunter of Hunters, who hunts those who have become addled with blood. This badge is quietly passed down from generation to generation, usually to an outsider from the hinterlands. To be entrusted with this cursed badge, one must be strong, resilient to the seduction of blood, and gracious when taking a comrade's life. So, she, most Yarnamites have a certain type of English accent, and Eileen had a kind of Yorkshire accent. So that kind of lends into the fact that she's not from around here. So unfortunately, we had to kill her, and we didn't get the other reward we wanted, but we actually still got something that's useful to our build. Which is going to be... Oh, before I do that, I probably won't have enough to buy it, but... We'll take a look at it anyway. Yep. We don't have it. Oh well. A special trick weapon passed down among hunters of hunters, one of the oldest weapons in the workshop. Splits into two when activated. The weapon's warped blades are forged of siderite, a rare mineral of the heavens. Most effective in swift attacks, such as after a quick step. And here we have... Alright. Wood-carved mask of Eileen the Crow, Hunter of Hunters. The beak contains incense to mask the scents of blood and beasts. Hunters of Hunters dress as crows to suggest sky burial. The first Hunter of Hunters came from a foreign land, and gave the dead a virtuous native funeral, rather than impose a blasphemous Yarnum burial service upon them, with the hope that former compatriots might be returned to the skies and find rest in a hunter's dream. A sky burial is actually a Buddhist custom in, I think it was in, near India, Nepal, or Pakistan, or possibly, all of them. And what that entails is your corpse is left out in the open to be eaten by carrion birds. More importantly, it's put up onto, I believe, a cross. Or you're hung upside down from a cross, and in addition to seeing that in the Hunter rune, there are corpses in the labyrinth that are hung in such a manner. Excuse me just a second. So the idea is, when your body is eaten by the crows, your body and your soul is taken into the sky. Alright, so now we are gonna go do our... thing. We're gonna go to Hemwick. We're gonna go to the witch's abode. Because that's gonna be easier for us to get to the place where we... It's gonna be easier for us to get to where we're going from there. Oh, I'm gonna rest my voice for a minute. Okay, yeah, here we see what I was talking about. This is what... you'll notice some of them are hung with their hands behind their back and with right side up. But some of them are also hung upside down. This is the sky burial that that they were mentioning. Alright, so we're gonna get into the carriage. And what happens next is also lends to the idea that some places, even in the waking world, are kind of separated from reality, or are in a different plane of existence, from in a different time, or rather are frozen in time at some points, because when we get to the castle, the carriage is in ruins and the horses are long dead. I'm not sure how much sense I'm making with this stuff, but I'm trying to explain it the best I can. There we gained some insight. Oh yeah, see what I'm talking about? These horses have been dead for a while. I'm not sure if you remember what I said a few minutes ago, but the old blood will and different types of blood will affect different people differently. When it comes to Canehurst, these creatures that you see right here. These creatures that you see right here are what some of them will turn into. Here we have someone in the black church hunter garb. I'm not sure if you remember, but Alfred said that as an executioner, he searches for the path to Canehurst Castle. It's implied in some of the lore that I've seen that the executioners actually came here at one point. That Canehurst was actually a rival to Yarnum in terms of size and resources, but at a certain point, they earned the scorn and wrath of the church, and the executioners came here and killed everybody. Well, almost everybody. These creatures will also show up in the labyrinth sometimes when you kill certain enemies, after they're dead, they'll be standing over their corpse, and the implication is that they're sucking the blood of it, rather licking the blood up. Alright, here we have some of those worms that were in that one area with the poison before Yosefka's clinic, the back door. It's implied that these things are only really present in areas where corruption is very advanced. And possibly what the vermin will turn into after a certain point. Sure you noticed by now, but these creatures will also drop blood-tinged gemstones. And these guys were licking on frenzied cold blood, and also there was a guy with numbing mist on him there. The other reason I wanted to come here is because there's a bunch of the upgrade materials here. We're going to get a closer look at these here. Alright, now these are... their hands are bound, they're blindfolded, and their throats are slit. Which implies that they... what I was... what I had mentioned before, that the... that the church had come and pretty much visited genocide upon Castle of the Canehurst people The fact that their hands are bound and they're blindfolded and their throats are slit. Some people have speculated that this points to the fact that the church's assault was very sudden, so sudden that almost everybody was taken completely by surprise, and the executioners had time enough to bind some of them, blindfold them, and then slit their throats. Alright, weapon wielded by the Knights of Canehurst. Combines an elegant knight's sword with the peculiar firearm wielded by the Canehurst Order. The old nobles, long-time imbibers of the blood, are no strangers to the sanguine plague, and the disposal of beasts was a discreet task left to their servants, or knights, as they were called for the sake of appearances. So, this is where... This is, the implication of how this, the Plague of the Beast is a kind of cycle, wherever the blood is found. Canehurst had their own hunters to deal with the Plague of Beasts. I'm a pretty princess. No, I actually didn't mean to do that, but that's something that one of the people I really enjoy watching play Bloodborne. That's one of his. That's one of the things he does with all his videos. He'll put a dress on his characters and say those words. But anyway, we're gonna take a look at this. A finely tailored Bordeaux dress, worn by the nobles of the old bloodline that traces back to the forsaken castle Canehurst. The hooker that we led to the Uden Chapel, she's actually wearing one of these. And the blood that she gives us in the description says that it's very similar to what was once forbidden. And the women here are wearing pretty much the same dress that she was wearing. Alright, now, that's not a statue right there. And you'll notice that if you... Yep. That's one of the little traps that Dark Souls likes to put for people. This is the other type of beast that apparently was common for Canehurst. I'm gonna rest my voice here for a while. Here we have some evidence that the executioners actually did what I had mentioned before, the executioner garb. Attire worn by the band of executioners commanded by the martyr Logarius. Later became the basis for all healing church attire, with its heavy draping of holy shawl. As the great Logarius once said, acts of goodness are not always wise, and acts of evil are not always foolish, but regardless we shall always strive to be good. Which, I mean, there's some truth in that, but that kind of thinking is a little seductive. But what I was getting at there is that good people can do evil things, and evil people can do good things. There's equal potential in both types of people for both. It's very easy for most people to think of things and people in the world as black and white, one thing or the other. But that's very often not the case. there's very often many different degrees in between. We're just opening up the shortcut there. We're going to take a look at what we just picked up here. A register of all the known Vile Bloods. Red leather record of the Vile Bloods loyal to the Covenant of Annalise, the Queen of the... Vile Bloods. At Canehurst Castle. A record of the Vile Bloods, bloodlusting hunters who seek blood dregs of their prey. Kept throughout the ages. Excuse me. Now what happened to me there is that, I'm not sure if you saw, but a little rune appeared above my head when that guy shot me with his dart. And when the women screamed, blood came out from their throats. That's actually something that excuse me. That's actually something that is unique to Canehurst. They use their bloods as their attacks and on their weapons, and that's why blood tinge is something that is uniquely powerful in terms of people from Canehurst. And here we have one of the items that we were getting after, Evelyn. Special pistol used by Canehurst Knights. The Evelyn uses quicksilver bullets just as any workshop firearm, but the Canehurst variant relies more on blood tinge. Lovingly named after a woman and graced with intricate design, Evelyns were adored by Canehurst Knights. Now we're gonna keep using our hunter pistol for now because we actually have that upgraded more, but we'll use that more and more later because that's gonna be our better weapon. I'm gonna rest my voice here for another minute. we see more evidence of the executioner's handiwork. Now, what would have happened to us if we were close enough to that woman? Or rather, all these women, when they start screaming, is that we'll be held in place. And that's part of the... Oh, yeah. I forgot she was in that corner. Well, we'd be held in place, and they, the other women would come towards us and proceed to stab us to death. Yep, there we go. It's the same kind of attack that the witches use, and the brain suckers. I forget what was in this one. Oh yeah. Attire of the Knights of Canehurst, a regal piece graced by intricate goldwork. The Canehurst way is a mix of nostalgia and bombast. They take great pride even in the blood-stained corpses of beasts that they leave behind, confident that they will stand as examples of decadent art. Not a bad set of clothing, actually. It's one of the better looking ones in the game. And here we have a one of the arcane tools. One of the secret treasures hidden away in Canehurst. The gloves of an executioner from a faraway land. Passed from father to son, these gloves can be used to summon wrathful spirits of the past by smearing them with blood. It is said that the nobles found immeasurable delight in the dances of these vengeful specters. Oh, hang on just a second. Okay. There some kin Coldblood was there. That'll become relevant in a little bit. Here we have a shortcut. This will also bring a ladder over here. This will bring us to the next area of the game. Some more upgrade materials hanging around here. gonna have a boss fight coming up here in a minute. We're gonna try to take care of him ourselves first. We're gonna put on Gascoigne's clothes here. I'm unsure if you remember me, or if you were on stream when I fought some of the Temerians before, Scott, but if you remember, you'll actually see some similarities in this guy between them and the Temerians. We are punching below our weight in this area, actually, but that can still be a difficult fight no matter what. Alright, so we have here the Crown of Illusions, what he was wearing. One of the precious secrets of Canehurst. The old king's crown is said to reveal illusions and expose a mirage that hides a secret. And so Logarius donned the crown of his own volition, determined to prevent a single soul from stumbling upon the vile secret. What visions did he see, sitting serenely upon his new throne? We're actually going to put this on.
Subjects, but here lieth our throne. Kneel afore us, or get thee gone.
We're actually gonna go kneel before her and talk to her because we need some stuff that her covenant's gonna give for our weapons and build. And before we do that, you'll notice that there is a bunch of blood on the floor leading up to her throne.
Visitor, moon-scented hunter. I am Annalise, Queen of Castle Canehurst. Ruler of the Vile Bloods, and sworn enemy of the Church. Yet our people are murdered, and we are prisoner to this wretched mask. What is it thou art in search of? Well, well. An odd hunter thou art indeed. We've tired of these piteous nights. Share in our plight, and take oath against the Church. If thou wouldst this path walk, I prithee, partake of my rotted blood. Very well. Drink deep of our blood. Feel the spreading corruption burn. Now, thou art too a vile blood. We two, the very last on this earth. We await thy return, for the honor of Canehurst.
We might have enough to get. We got that. We put in for that covenant for one of two reasons: one, for the weapon that I was mentioning, and two, for an item that's very useful. It's the numbing mist. We'll be able to get that up at the inside fountain. Yep, here we go. Foreign-made weapon wielded by the royal guards who protect Annalise, Queen of the Vilebloods at Canehurst Castle. When the intricate, rippling engraving that spans the Chikage's blade is imbued with blood, the sword sings in scarlet hues. However, the rite eats away at the wielder's very essence. So this will actually take away health the longer it's transformed. But we're going to get this anyway. Gonna buy this too. Gonna upgrade some of our... Well, first we're gonna repair some stuff, probably. Yep. Alright, I think that's gonna... Let's... hang on a second. What time is it? I think that's gonna do it for us today, Scott. I think next week we're gonna do either Nier Automata, or we're gonna do... I'm gonna play through some of Doom 2016 for Anya for later. Let me know what you thought about it later. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you in a bit.